Good evening, good afternoon. Welcome, people, to the first edition of the Daily GRIZZ. Um, I was thinking of planning on sort of wearing a suit and a tie. Do you know, like I'm sat in Sky Sports studio, but I thought not yet, not yet. Not that you guys are not worthy. I don't think I'm worthy of wearing a tie and a suit yet. So let's just help each other to help each other, and then one day I'll be sat here doing Grizz Daily in a tie, suit, and the proper attire. But for the moment, it is what it is. People, don't forget to hit the like button on your way in. Brand new show for you. I'm going to look to do this daily. And basically, it is what it says on the title. A roundup of all the footballing headlines from the day. We know people, we know some of us are very busy and don't get chance to scroll through Twitter and keep abreast of what's going on in the footballing world. But fear not, I'm here to help you in any way, shape, or form. Alongside me today, I've got Steve. Steve, how you doing, my friend? You good?
I'm good. I'm good. Looking forward to this. A few little bits and pieces to go through. So, as ever, thanks for having me on. And yeah, let's get to it and have a little chat about what's going on in the world today.
Yeah, look, it's good. It's good because we've got a few things to get through, and we start off with something that we actually discussed last night around sort of squad, the contracts around the squad, and what we should do with a couple of players here and there. And then, lo and behold, this morning, let's see if I can do this. This morning, we get the news that um, James Milner, James Milner has extended his contract, extended it for a year, I believe. Steve, I'm very okay with this. How are you with this?
Oh, it's tremendous news. It's not a 25-year-old James Milner. We know this. It's a 37-year-old James Milner. We cut his cloth accordingly, and he does jobs for us, specialist jobs for us when required. Absolutely the consummate pro. This is a guy with 700 plus games under his belt. This is the guy with the type of experience that the younger players coming through our squad need to be around. And beyond this contract, I'd really like to see a future for him within the football club. So to get another 12 months out of him, in light of other offers for more money, shows how committed to the football club he is. And if you're a Liverpool fan, you really should be pleased with this news.
I don't think I don't think it should cause any displeasure amongst genuine Liverpool fans and genuine Liverpool fans that understand what he means not only to the players and the squad but to the manager and the coaches, because you can't put a price on his dedication, his professionalism, his hunger and desire, even at the age. And it's probably the best example for the up and coming young players. And Steve, let's not forget for incoming players, because players that are coming in will want to know and will pick up the culture of the club, culture of the squad. Who better than to greet them and to not only just greet them, Steve, not only to just speak to them, but to show them in training that this is what is required to be at a club like Liverpool Football Club.
Totally. There's a very big difference between being able to talk the talk and being able to walk the walk. And when they do the bleep test at the start of every season, this man's right at the forefront of that, putting the youngsters to shame. So if you want to join a football club like Liverpool, you want to join a top club in the world like Liverpool, this is a standard bearer that absolutely you need to learn from, you need to watch, you need to replicate. And maybe, incoming players and young players in the club, and there are a few of those, can go on and enjoy a career with the same longevity that James Milner's got. And I don't think there's anybody on the football circuit at all of any value that doesn't respect this man for who and what he is. And it's great news. It's absolutely brilliant.
Rookie says, "Evening, lads. Seems weird seeing Grizz and there's still light outside." Yeah, many people have called me a vampire in the past. Get used to it. I'll be doing random times, random streams. It's all popping off. It's all popping off on this channel, I tell you that. But the main thing is content galore for you guys. Content galore. Yeah, Steve, look, always subsections of the fan base up in arms, and it's usually ill-informed ones that sort of compare it to or talk of it as like an obstacle in future signings or an obstacle in giving wages to others. The guy's it's like having a coach on the playing field, isn't it, for Jurgen Klopp? The guy's, I know he's taken a massive wage reduction. It doesn't influence the potential incomings for players. People just need to just get over it and respect Jurgen Klopp and his coaches and respect James Milner, right? Because, it's foolish to think that we're signing him or we're extending his deal sort of to make him a first teamer.
No, not at all. No, so he'll know his role in the club. He'll know his part is to go on. It's to work with the youngsters, work with the seasoned pros, get a little bit more from them, be the go-between with Henderson, between the management team and the players. This is the guy that Jurgen Klopp came out and said he deals with things before they're brought to mind and Pep's attention. So that's invaluable.
Absolutely.
Are you okay there?
Yeah, sorry. Just a bit of a coughing. Ever since I've come back from Paris, I've had this bit of a chest infection. Not COVID. I've had it all checked out. I've had two tests. So it's all good. Just a bit of a chest infection, but I'm okay now. But yeah, look, James Milner signing an extension. I don't think many people can complain. People that understand the club, people understand what we're built on. And I was thinking the other day, Steve, I don't know. People, let us know in the chat. I can't think of a better free transfer. I mean, I don't know. I'm struggling. Let us know if you can think of someone better. But in terms of free transfers, he's right up there at the very minimum. I'd say probably at the very top.
I wouldn't disagree. And if you bear in mind that since he's come to us, he's played more games for Liverpool Football Club than any of his previous clubs. It's hardly an Indian summer, is it? He's really contributed genuinely to what we've achieved, both on and off the pitch. And that little snapshot away at West Ham when he gets substituted and Mo Salah scores and him and Jurgen Klopp share a moment. Those things in and around the club, you can't put a price on that relationship. You can't put a price on what that shows new and experienced players within your football club, where you can get to in terms of the respect you have for other people and the respect they have for you. This guy is like a field marshal for Jurgen Klopp. He's been absolutely tremendous.
He has been. And look, there's absolutely no doubt about it. We go on to sort of other news, Steve, and here we go. I'm just going to try to get this one up as well. People calling on sort of Matip maybe as the best free transfer. Look, no one's going to deny, no one's going to argue with Matip either. That's a fair shout. Yeah, I think Matip's probably a very good shout as well, actually. But as I said, Milner's definitely up there, if not the highest. But yeah, look, as we've discussed, an absolute warhorse, continues to be, as you said, one of the fittest, one of the leading examples of the pre-season training, which is going to be, again, which is always crucial for incoming players. Just when you think, we're walking into Liverpool, let's see what it's all about. You'll have James Milner to deal with. More news about another squad member, Steve. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain will be allowed to leave Liverpool this summer for the right price. Paul Joyce, what do you think?
Possibly the worst kept secret in football. I think, in terms of Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, we've had some great times with him. He's had some great times with us. He was a major contributor earlier on in his Liverpool career. I think things have become difficult for him. Game time has become nigh on impossible for him, given that we compress the play and we squeeze the opposition so much in their own half. What plays into his hands in terms of having space to run with, we no longer do that. So it's a tactical thing, I think, over a personnel or a personal issue. And it's probably the right time for all to say, mate, you were tremendous pre your injury, because he really was. We've not really hit those heights since. Thank you for everything you've done. We'll find a club for you. The question I'm going to ask you is, what do you think is the right price for Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, and who are his potential suitors?
Well, this is it. This is it. This is the next part of the conundrum, I guess. It's all well and good saying that we'll be allowed to leave if the right offer comes in. And as you said, what is the right offer? What is the right club for Oxlade? I think, again, I think this scenario is all about Oxlade-Chamberlain as opposed to all about us. I think he will have the major say. Of course, he'll have the major say. He has the final say. But what I mean by that, it's got to obviously be appealing to him. I'm thinking, Steve, I don't know about you, I'm thinking something along the lines of an Aston Villa or West Ham. Or dare I say, one of the promoted teams, or am I getting a bit wild in terms of he won't want to drop to that level? But I'm just thinking someone like a Fulham with a progressive coach who might want someone experienced. I'm just putting out names there. I know of official interest from, my God, I tweeted it a couple of weeks ago. It's gone. I think it was West Ham. Someone maybe can check. We refused a bid from West Ham, which was a lowly bid. But I'm just thinking along those lines, Steve. West Ham, Villa, or one of the promoted teams that would want an experienced senior member that's played in the Premier League, knows about it, done it. What do you think?
Yeah, that's a good shout. And interestingly enough, Bournemouth, one of the promoted teams, is right on the doorstep of his hometown.
There you go.
There's lots of synergy between a potential move to Bournemouth. He obviously knows Dom Solanke, who's down there. And they've got a good coach, really good coach.
Southampton, that was the team. Southampton was the team that are interested in taking him back.
I'm not sure the Southampton project is as appealing as a West Ham, an Aston Villa, or one of the bright new things coming into the league with something to prove. Bournemouth and Fulham have got to prove everybody wrong and stay in the Premier League beyond one season, because that's the catch-22 for them. So they'll want to invest wisely. This is a guy with Premier League pedigree. Yes, there's been some injury issues. Not his fault. You never know when you're going to get caught in a challenge and twist a knee, do you? But that said, that is a question mark. And I guess we come down to what's the right kind of money for Oxlade-Chamberlain. If you're top of the tree in Liverpool and a fax comes through, what kind of money are you looking for?
Well, this is it. I mean, what are you thinking? I'm thinking the state of sort of the prices at the moment and everything going around. Again, we're in that conundrum, aren't we, Steve, with the last year of his contract and the last year of his deal. I'm looking between 12 and 15 million, Steve, personally.
Yeah, me too. Totally agree.
I don't think we can expect much more. If he had 2 years on his contract, we're looking more towards 20 million. But taking anything into consideration, I'm probably accepting that. I mean, people are saying pretty much the same, 15, 20. I'm sure he means 15 million, not £15 retro. Correct me if you actually don't believe that. But yeah, I think that's the price range we're going for. Would you be okay with that?
Yeah, I think it fits everybody. We've had what we needed from him. We've gone down a slightly different route with the way we play. It doesn't suit him. He's not had game time. The one game that I wanted to see more from him was Nottingham Forest in the Cup, and I didn't see it. I wanted him to show me he was the best player on the pitch and say, look at me, I should be playing here. I should be playing with Mo Salah and Sadio Mane and those guys. But I think there's a resignation in his body language and the way he played that things are coming to an end. So
do you think because he literally hasn't had a look in since that where he showed small sign of frustration, petulance. He literally didn't get a look in. I don't think he made another appearance.
No. Even
as a sub after that. Do you think that was the kind of final straw?
May well be. Jurgen Klopp's the most philosophical man on the planet, bar nobody. So I think when there's a negative influence, and his behaviour when he got substituted in that game wasn't great either. He was clearly disappointed, and he was very demonstrative in his body language when he left the field. I think the decision had already been made to potentially move him on prior to that.
Yeah, I'm assuming that as well, yeah.
That might have been his last opportunity to go, well, hang on a minute, maybe we need to think about this one. But he didn't take the game by the scruff of the neck. He didn't enforce himself on the game. He wasn't the standout performer on the pitch. And psychology's got a lot to do with it. And he's clearly not in a great place through amount of game time. And you get two types of people, those that dig in and get on with it and prove people wrong, and those that kind of willingly accept their fate. And I think he needs to play football. He's still a great footballer. I'm an Ox fan. Just doesn't work in our system right now. So he goes with loads and loads of good memories, loads of thank yous. Not a bad word to say about him. He's been a strong part of the squad. He's done what we needed him to do. The goals in the Champions League at Manchester City, will never be forgotten. Best of luck to him. Hope he goes and resurrects his career and becomes a star somewhere else, because you don't like to see quality players sitting on the bench and not getting game time, and that's what he is, a quality player.
A lot of people talking about sort of when we first bought him, we possibly overpaid. I'm of that opinion, Steve. I think that's one of the few occasions where we actually got done. I thought 40 million was a bit of a hefty price for him, especially if I remember correctly, he was going into his last year as well.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? Do you think the same?
I do. I also think at that time he fitted what we were looking for.
No, absolutely. I was very excited about the player.
Yeah.
But I just thought at the time, one of the few occasions where our transfer team, I think, slightly overpaid. We're always known to sort of strike brilliant deals. I think the Ox, as far as I can remember, is the only deal, and we're going to touch upon the next player in a few minutes. I think these two were the deals where I think we were, I don't know, held to ransom. But what I also remember, it was one of the few occasions where we decided to go head-to-head in a bidding war with another team, i.e. Chelsea at the time, because Chelsea had agreed a deal with them, and then we came in and beat their deal. And not only beat, I think we matched it or beat it, and then Ox himself decided he wanted Liverpool. So I just thought 40 million at the time, Steve, looking back, it probably should have been more 30 to 35. But I agree with you. In terms of the player needed at the time, everything about Ox, I thought, wow, that's a Jurgen Klopp player, right?
Young, dynamic player, likes to drive at people and ask questions. Your heavy metal football personified, really, in that regard. So, yeah, at the time, the Chelsea thing probably pushed the price up more than where we wanted to go. But sometimes when you're in for a player who fits your game plan and what you're trying to achieve, you will pay 5, 6, 7, 8 million, sometimes a little bit more, to stop him going to somebody that could hurt you with him. So there might be a little bit of, it's more than we wanted to pay. He fits our bill, and by the way, we don't want Chelsea to have him. So we'll bring him in. He'll do what we need to do anyway, because we've analysed him and looked at all of his running patterns and his recovery and all of that stuff. And the goals in the Champions League themselves, taking us from quarterfinals to semi-finals, they go some way to paying back that transfer fee. So I don't think when it's all said and done, there'll be a post-mortem over his transfer fee, what he's given us, his injuries and what we sell him for. But I'm not prepared to get involved in that. I'd just say thanks for what you've done. Go and enjoy the rest of your football career, and I hope to see you getting game time.
Yeah, I think people are sort of suggesting that the kind of price. I mean, Paul Smith saying we'll get 15 to 20 million for him. I think we'd be lucky to get that, Paul. I genuinely do. If we do, absolute bargain. Someone else in the headlines today, and someone else we discussed yesterday. Let me get the right one up. Here we go. Again, Paul Joyce, the oracle when it comes to all things Liverpool. He says Liverpool have opened talks with Naby Keita of a new contract. He is expected to renew. Pretty much like what we said yesterday, wasn't it, Steve, on the squad game show, where we said it doesn't really. It's not very realistic. I guess it maybe is the word, Steve. I don't know. Help me out here. Is it the word? Like, it's not very realistic that we not only disrupt our forward line, as we would discuss, and not only that, sorry, and we sell two valuable squad members of our central midfield, i.e., Ox and Naby. It was always going to be one or the other. I think it was always going to be Naby to stay, right?
Yeah. You look at our starting midfield berth, it's typically Fabinho, Henderson and Thiago, understandably so. This is probably the guy that's next in the pecking order in terms of being the fourth midfielder in a midfield three, if that makes sense. And he's a guy that Jurgen Klopp persists with when others wouldn't, maybe. And a guy that polarizes our fan base more than any other Liverpool football player I can ever remember. So with regards to that, it probably wasn't good business sense, and the timing would be dreadful to let him go this summer. And the point you made before we came on air, Grizz, is really key. We don't lose anything. If anything, we add to his value. If he has a barnstorming season next year and we decide to do something different that doesn't really include him, then he's got more value to his name because he has a contract that isn't in its final year. And at times, this guy still gives us a snapshot as to what we thought we signed. And I think all of us are waiting for all of the stars to align and him just to explode. And we can sit there and go, wow, there he is. But he's had to beef out. He's had to fill out and be stronger and more aggressive and deal with the rigours of the English game. But he's pressing in the final third. He presses as well as anybody we've got in terms of the numbers and the stats. There is a question mark sometimes about tactical naivety. That's something that the coaches need to work with. But as we said last night in the squad review, whilst a big bid would make you think about it, it made no sense at all to put this guy in the shop window this summer.
You're right. I think when I say win-win, not everybody's going to agree. As you can see from the comments in the chat, not everybody's happy or enamored, I should say, with the new extension. But I definitely think it's a chance to increase his value, protect his value. Sorry, that's the word, isn't it? We're protecting his value by giving him a new deal, people. I know majority seem to have saying sell or should have sold, but it's very difficult. It's very difficult in the middle of a slight evolution that we are in the team to suddenly lose 3-4 valuable, I'm talking valuable first team squad players. And obviously the king of them all, Sadio Mane, and then the Origis, the Oxes, the Nabys. You can't just suddenly lose 4 or 5 valuable squad players plus also a mainstay of the team. I think it has to be more subtle. And so therefore Ox can leave this season, and then next season it's up to Naby, right? Naby's got his new deal. We'll have protected his value. And as you said, if he has a brilliant season, we can assess the situation again. If we're still undecided, Steve, do you remember, like I said yesterday, we cannot go into season 6 still undecided.
Yeah.
And if he hasn't fulfilled the potential and the talent that he has, then we can actually get 25-30 million for him, which is his actual value, right? So that's what I mean by win-win.
Yeah. I agree. There's again the risk of kind of repeating things. There's no need to sell him. You're exactly right. It will be one in, one out, phased in, phased out over a number of transfer windows with our midfield in particular, because take it on a year, Jordan Henderson will be 32 or approaching 32. I think he shares the 6 more with Fabinho next year anyway.
I hope so. That's something else we can discuss in future shows leading up to the season. But that Henderson being cover for Fabinho, especially as we weren't able to secure Tchouameni, I think that will be key.
Agree. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. We'll obviously have a chat about that. But this guy is the one that Klopp perceives as knocking on the door to take one of their shirts from them. And we know now in history with Jurgen Klopp, we just trust his decisions. Jurgen Klopp knows far more about whether Naby Keita fits into the bigger picture at Liverpool and the things going forward than I ever will. I sit and watch Naby Keita and I'm sometimes super critical because he plays for my team and I see things that I want him to do that he doesn't. But still a quality footballer. If we put him on the market tomorrow, there would be no shortage of people who would come knocking on the door trying to sign him. He's still a good footballer. He just hasn't been that catalyst to explosive attacking football that we saw at Leipzig. But then German football is very different to English football anyway in terms of the space you get to play and the time you get on the ball. He's had to adapt to English football and he's not found it easy. So this is now his opportunity as a show of faith by the football club to start this conversation. When you show somebody faith, you genuinely want them to repay it. And that's what I hope to see from Naby next year.
No, absolutely. I think you're spot on. I think it will be encouraging to him as well that the show of faith is there, that, you know, Jurgen Klopp has agreed to giving him an extension moving forward. It kind of settles you down. The uncertainty doesn't help players, does it? If you've got 1 year remaining and you're in and out of the team and, you know, there's question marks throughout the fan base, I think this I'm hoping this is the catalyst to seeing the Naby Keita that we thought we're getting. You know, as you spoke about in terms of his time at Bundesliga, he was fantastic, but he had a different role. And I think it's taken time for him to adjust tactically. I totally agree with you. But still, I saw signs of him adapting to that tactical side of things. And I think it could bode well. We've got a super chat. Ali Khan says, appreciate the support. He goes, Naby bought to be KDB, but hasn't performed. Replaced, question mark. I think we've just addressed that, Ali. If you've missed the news, we've got it up there. Paul Joyce has said Naby Keita is on the verge of agreeing an extension. So we cannot replace. We cannot. So we'll have to see how he goes for the next season. But Steve, Naby Keita, James Milner, you know, two of the renewals or two of the decisions, and Ox. We've still got a few more decisions to make in the squad. I fully anticipate Joe Gomez to be in the next line of contract extensions as well. I think we both adamant, aren't we, that has to happen as well, right? While I find the next thing I'm looking for. Sorry,
it does have to happen. Imagine a world where we let him go and he goes on to become a stalwart international for England and has 2 or 3 years without injury. But when he's fit and he's flying, he's the best English centre-back in the league for me because he's got everything. He's got pace. He's got power. We've actually seen him crop up and make some creative passes in recent weeks playing in the right-back berth. It's a step backwards to leave Liverpool Football Club. Joe Gomez, at the age he is and with the experience he's got, that's not particularly a wise move. And if his advisors are telling him it is, you kind of have to question that. His role going forward is at Liverpool Football Club. We know Joe Matip won't run forever. So then it will become the Van Dijk, who will be getting on himself, Konate, who will be nailed into a starting berth, and then Joe Gomez eventually picking up the mantle and taking over from Virgil in a couple of years' time. And he'd still only be 26, 27 when we approach that time. And he's still got 5-6 years at the club as a first choice centre-half left to build his own legacy. So that's paramount. That contract extension has to happen.
No, absolutely. And I fully expect it to happen. Something else I fully expect to happen. I think it's pretty obvious that what's going to happen now. Oh, look, GRIZZ Khan says the next bid from Bayern likely to be accepted. I genuinely think, Steve, it's a matter of both clubs and player wanting to get this resolved as soon as possible. Now, what that means is their opening bid. What we know from last night's show and Paul Joyce's tweets while we were on the show was Bayern Munich put in an opening bid, which was deemed not acceptable. So we didn't accept it. But apparently Bayern Munich are looking to up that bid to round about the 30 to 35 million pound mark, which I think will be satisfactory for us. Um, and I think Jurgen Klopp will want this resolved, especially, Steve, this is the key for me, especially as Sadio Mane has very clearly made it obvious that he would like a move.
Yeah, totally agree. I think we need to call it what it was, Grizz. 21 million plus 4 million in add-ons is derisory. It's not a bad offer, it's a derisory offer. It's not something you should ever contemplate for a player of that ability. We've seen somebody in the chat today say we should get 20 million pound for Oxlade-Chamberlain. Well, in terms of where they are right now in world football, those two guys are worlds apart. So I'm in agreement with you. North of 30, getting on for 35, which would be a lump sum plus add-ons, probably paid in a similar way to we paid for Thiago, which is year by year. Would probably get that deal across the line. And I do agree with you. Klopp is a man that looks forward rather than looks back, and he's referenced this many, many times. This sounds really cold, but it's not meant to. That chapter with Sadio Mane has been written, and we need to close that page and open a new one and look at the future of Liverpool Football Club, which regretfully, and I'm as gutted as the next man, doesn't include Sadio Mane, sadly. But life goes on, football goes on. We've lost big, big players before, and we've found a way to replace them, and we go on and win further trophies. So I agree with you. Klopp would probably want some closure on this sooner rather than later.
Yeah, look, we saw the reactions of all of us yesterday, me, you, Matt, and Conroy. I mean, it's sad. It's absolutely sad when you lose or when a player decides to move on. Either way, whether we lose him or we sell him or he decides to move on. When an icon and a legend like Sadio Mane is no longer at your club, as the case very possibly, very likely will be, it's a sad, sad moment for all of us. But it's not the end. And that's the key element that we have to respect and accept and know that Liverpool will go on. We 100% will go on. We will replace him. Again, a lot of fear in people saying, what's the chances of us not replacing him? And sort of a lot of people assuming sort of Diaz is already the replacement. No, for a fact, we are in for a forward, an attacker. And I'm okay with the overall situation, taking into consideration that Sadio Mane himself wants to leave. If it was being sold against his wishes and just for the sake of the money, then Steve, we have every right to kick up a fuss, but not the way it's panning out.
No, he's come to us and said, I believe this is the third time, I actually fancy a different challenge. He's played in 3 Champions League finals. He's played in 3 title run-ins, which have been successful. He's won both the domestic cups. He's played in the Europa League final for Liverpool. What more is there for him to do in terms of Liverpool Football Club other than add winners' medals to winners' medals? He already has. He's very ambassadorial. So in terms of what Bayern Munich will pay him, will allow him to do much more development in his hometown, his home country, because they like to build hospitals and schools and things. And that's a measure of the man. And I truly, genuinely admire that. So the money difference between Liverpool salary and Bayern Munich salary should allow him to continue to do that. And at the end of the day, Grizz, he's not a local lad. He's not a Scouser. He's not a Steven Gerrard. He's never going to be a one club man. That can't happen. And he thinks now is the right time to move. And if you keep a player that thinks it's the right time to move by hook or by crook, you get a different version of them. So I think it's important for us to recognise his wishes, say thank you for everything he's done, remember him for all the goodness. He goes his way and he moves on, and we go our way and we move on. As regretful as that sounds, it's quite cold and cynical. That's where we're at, and that's how we have to look at it.
No, absolutely. I mean, I can't disagree again with anything that you've said there. Got a super chat from El Lad. Says, Grizz, any news on potential incomings, mids and forwards? I've given as much as I know or have heard. There will be a transfer show on Wednesday where we will discuss all things incomings and outgoings. Make sure you're there for that, 8 p.m. Put your notification bell if you haven't already. You should all have your notifications. There's over 200 of you guys. I know it's a new time and a new show, but I'm absolutely blown away with your support. I love you all. Total respect. Really appreciate that. We really do. If you could like the stream as well, it would help with the algorithms. As I said, I'm going to try to stick to one time as opposed to random times. 7 p.m. has been the one that's been voted in the most at the moment. So we'll stick with 7 p.m. Let me know in the chat if other times suit you, and then I'll go with the majority. I think that's enough, or as far as the news for Liverpool's concerned, Steve, unless I've forgotten anything else. The contract deals, the contract situations, Paul Joyce has dropped a few bombs today in terms of Oxes will be allowed to go. Naby Keita will get a new contract, and James Milner has signed a new contract. But Steve, we could all be far worse, right? I mean, people are sort of moaning and groaning about sort of the situation we're in. A, the transfer window hasn't even opened. B, the season has just finished, and what a good season, close to a glorious season it was. I blame myself for getting involved and falling for the bait of the doomsday merchants. What do you like?
I used to fall under the spell of the doomsday merchants. I now have a much more positive outlook on life in general, and certainly Liverpool Football Club. Klopp hasn't got much wrong, has he, in the time he's been at the club, in terms of signings, in terms of evolution and the next steps. I don't expect it to be any different next season than the season beyond and the season beyond and throughout the time he stays in the football club. So rather than get sucked into the melee that's become our transfer window in Twitter, steer clear of it. Listen to the reliable people, Paul Joyce, the usual suspects who come with important updates. Embrace the new signings. I mean, the one that's been banded around to play up top. Bit of a mixed reaction. If it happens, we back him. We back him 100%.
But this was my point yesterday, Steve. We have only records and facts to go by. We can only go by our actions in the transfer market, our successes, our failures, and our development as a team, as a squad, and and the recruitment team of the last 5 years. And yesterday we went through, or the previous show, we went through sort of the successes and failures, and we could name the failures probably on one hand.
Mm.
And even those failures, we could have a debate if they were failures. Not clear-cut failures of the last 4 or 5 seasons, I must stress. So we can only go by what we know and what we've seen. And there's no reason, logically, by looking at those facts and being pessimistic and worrying. And above all, like I said today on Twitter, the key signing and the key development that happened in the last few months was Jurgen Klopp staying at the football club. And that defies anything else for me.
Well, 100% behind you. That was the biggest signing that we could have asked for. That's the one that supersedes anything else that we choose to do. What I would say with regards to potential future targets and their categorization and everybody knowing where their ceilings are at, what you're seeing is football players playing in other clubs with other systems and sometimes no systems. Bring them to Liverpool Football Club, put them in a system, give them a job to do, give them a role to do, and you turn a good Serie A player into a 5-season world-class player like Mo Salah, because you give him a system that works for him, that allows you to play to his strengths. We won't be signing players because there's a name on the back of the shirt. We'll be signing players that fit the profile of what we want to do. And we will expect those players to come into the club, make that adjustment and contribute. So we're not doing what they do at the bottom of the East Lancs Road at Manchester United and signing players because there's a name. We're signing them to fit in with what the club is trying to do, what the system is trying to do, what our sort of go-to is in terms of playing style, in terms of what we ask the players to do in their roles. these guys will grow. These guys will get better in the Liverpool system because we will have done our homework. They're not chance signings; they're calculated signings.
NDB nails it here. The mixed reaction reminds me of the reaction when Mane and Salah, when they signed. And I don't know a better way of putting it. I mean, I absolutely recall the Mane and Salah signings, and the reactions were absolutely the same in terms of, oh my God, we need a bigger name. Who are these? Inconsistent, etc., etc. I just want to bring out a couple of comments. Ashok seems to think our season was a failure and we need improvement. I don't think anyone is denying, Ashok, that we need improvement. I don't know a single fan that I've spoken to, interacted with, had the pleasure of sharing a platform with, on any level has said we don't need improvement. Steve, do you know anyone that has said we don't need improvement?
No, because we do. We do.
Well, there's absolutely no one that denies we need improvement, Ashok. What we're saying is we are absolutely the least that will know how to improve. The ones that will know are already in charge, are in place. We can have our opinions, like you think it's been a failure this season. My God, that is some opinion though, my brother. That's all I will say. If you think this season's been a failure, wow. Wow. Look at this for a failure of a signing. Do you remember, Steve, the amount of noise and the amount of even our fan base that were calling for signings to be made in the caliber of Grealish and Sancho and Varane and Ronaldo, and probably the pick of them was Lukaku. I remember the fan base up in arms. Wow, Chelsea have won the Champions League and they've gone out and spent 100 million on Romelu Lukaku whilst we're going backwards. Well, look at us now. Who went backwards and who went forwards? Who was on the verge of having the most historic season ever? And who's had probably a shambolic season? Now, this came to light today and it gave me a bit of a giggle. People know my affections for Chelsea, or lack of, should I say. DiMarzio, who's very, very credible when it comes to all things Serie A. I can tell you that for a fact. People may think, he's not connected, but he is. In terms of Serie A, he's connected. And I've seen a few people talk about this Romelu Lukaku. He says, revealed, Romelu Lukaku has been sending public and private messages to Inter since Christmas. He has been calling former teammates, the coach, directors, and the president. He will do everything he can to leave Chelsea. My God, that's a bit of a stinky transfer, wasn't it, Steve?
Yeah. Let's not pull any punches here. That's a flop. That's a £97 million flop. This was the guy that was supposed to propel Chelsea from European champions, and well-deserved European champions. You don't become European champions for nothing. You have to give them their credit where it's due, to the side that was going to challenge Manchester City, steamroller Liverpool, and a challenge for the league title. I always question this guy's transfer because he made them very one-dimensional. They're actually better without him in terms of the angles they're creating, the difficulties that they give their opposition. This is a mess. To have a player in your ranks sending messages to another club, prostituted himself basically to go there in the summer, speaks volumes about that man's character, and it shouldn't be lost that lack of character has seen him fail this season, rather than rolling up his sleeves and saying, I am class, I am world class, I will show you. What he's done is take the easy route out. Let Chelsea fans let him go back to Inter Milan for a £20 million loan with a £58 million, whatever it is, option to buy at the end of next season. It's a massive hit in terms of what you pay and what you get back. It's been an unmitigated disaster from start to finish with him at the football club. And you learn lessons. Sometimes if things aren't broken, you don't have to fix them.
I think it should be a lesson for all footballing fans to sort of not be too fussed about the price of a transfer or price of a target, as opposed to to leaving it to the people like we do that sort of go really deep into characters and personalities of the players that you're buying. When we speak about our recruitment team, really analyzing and looking into the characters of targets, people sometimes scoff and laugh and say, oh, well, who cares if he's a lovely guy, if he's crap at football? Imagine being crap at football and being an egoistic so-and-so like Lukaku there. Imagine that. So, look, absolutely. So, look, it's not, I mean, I'd personally, as I said, I'm not trying to police your opinions, guys. If you think we're in trouble, if you think it's a disastrous situation that we find ourselves in, feel free, man, to think that. If you think our season's been disastrous, feel free to think that, man. I'm not here to police you. I'm giving you my opinion. I'm going to give you my opinion because it's my platform. And if I think we need something, I'll say we need something. If I think we need improvement, I'll say it. But I'm not going to sit here and I'm not the half empty kind of guy, Steve. I guess that's what it comes down to. I see things in a positive light. And I think we've got a lot of positivity going into the pre-season.
Totally. There's no reason. Listen, we lost 4 games out of 63. If that constitutes a failure, then there's some reality checks needed, and quickly. We might never get that close again to playing every single game that you can play in the season. We allowed ourselves to daydream. We allowed ourselves to believe that the quadruple was doable. There's a reason why it's never been done before, because it's difficult to do. We shouldn't lose that sight of that fact. We will go away, lick our wounds. Most notably, the Champions League final is the biggest pill to swallow. We will revitalise ourselves. We will reinvigorate. The coaches will get to work with the mental positivity. We will be back. We will challenge. The Jurgen Klopp journey continues on till 2026 and hopefully beyond. Not winning the league and not winning the Champions League wasn't the end of Liverpool Football Club. We are masters of using adversity for us in a positive sense and coming back bigger and stronger. And I genuinely believe that's what we will do next season.
Absolutely. Look, Afzal seems to want my attention. Afzal, I tell you what, I'm going to do a call-in show, and I'd be humbled if you call in and we can have a discussion of this. We're about to end the show now. He says, Grizz, don't conflate criticism with disaster and half empty. I didn't. You can criticize as much as you want, my friend. But it was your words that it's been disaster this season, not mine. But listen, if you want to criticize this team, sat at home, criticize them. I'm not. I've followed them all around the country, all around Europe. And they've made me proud, absolute proud. Yes, we need improving. Yes, we need players. Yes, we will get players and we will go again. So that's what I'm trying to say. I don't feel the need to moan and groan when the transfer window hasn't opened, and B, the season is at least 6 to 8 weeks away. I don't see it. I just don't see the need to criticize. If you do, by all means, my friend, keep typing away and keep criticizing. But don't forget to call in and we can have a chat face to face. I think that's all right for an opening show, Steve. We've covered quite a bit. It's supposed to be 33 minutes, but me and you can fucking chat forever, can't we? We've gone up to 50 minutes. But thanks for joining me. People, hope you've enjoyed the first daily roundup show of the week. I'll be back again tomorrow at 7 p.m. We'll be discussing all the day's news from all around the Premier League. Not only Liverpool, people, not only Liverpool. So even though quite a few of the news was about Liverpool based, we had to throw in a little Chelsea bit of news as well, because who doesn't like laughing at Chelsea, eh? Ha 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 ha. But guys, this has been the Daily Grizz Show. I am going to try to find an outro for this, and take care of yourselves. Good night from me, and it's good night from Steve. Take care.